Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will. We are back tonight with another movie breakdown. No, you couldn't wait to hear it. You couldn't wait to see it. You was afraid it wasn't going to happen, but it did. Y'all thought because February was over, maybe we would cancel things out. No more Black History Month. But nah, we're back. We're back. We still going on, man. And tonight we're talking about Needle in a Time Stack, man. Mr. Will, what's up with you?
Oh man, feeling good. What's going on with you, fam?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You know, it's a nice day, nice weekend. We had some good weather till we had some bad weather where I am. So it's like we had like 60s and now we got like 6. So it's like
Yeah,
it's
man.
a roller coaster of weather, man. But you know, it's all good, man. I got a chance to stay inside and check out a movie I've never seen before because I never saw this before,
Okay.
man. So yeah, so it's good to you know, like discover something new and get a
Yeah.
chance to
Yeah.
see a new different movie. So looking forward to that. Once again, if this is your first time with us, thank you very much for joining in. We break down movies that are in theaters. We break down movies that are not in theaters. This time we talk about a movie that came out in 2021.
Yes, sir.
If you like the content, you like the conversation, please like and subscribe and share. We are on YouTube, so if you can smash that like button and that subscribe button, we would appreciate that. We're also on Apple Podcasts and we are also on Spotify Podcasts. So basically, anywhere you are, if you're in your car, if you're at home, you're looking at your
Mm.
phone, you can check, you can dial in and tap into the Sticky Floors podcast. So please do and please share. And without further ado, I'm gonna pass it over to my main man, Mr. Will.
Yeah, man. First of all, on a serious tip, condolences, rest in power to Miss Roberta Flack as well
How
as Miss
about
Angie
that?
Stone.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I actually got to meet Angie Stone one time in a barbershop, man. She is cool. And this is right around the time she dropped that Jazzmatazz joint with Guru, and she had
Wow.
released she let me hear a snippet of that right before it dropped, and she had her solo album come out like right after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget, but the lead track on that joint, I'm sorry, I forget the name, but she let me hear that, and I was like, "Yo, you need to drop that." She didn't tell me that was going to be the lead track, and I said, "Yo, you need to drop that joint." And she was like, "Oh, I am." And I was like, "Oh, that's your lead track?" She was like, "Yeah." So definitely, I'm where CJ and I are from. A lot of famous people come into this one spot, and I'm very fortunate to have met a lot of different people who have been talented in a wide array of means,
Wow.
and she was one of them. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely
Amazing,
appreciate
amazing,
that.
soulful voice, man. Both
Yeah,
her and
definitely.
Roberta Flack, man.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like,
that's my mom. Yeah, that's my mom right there.
yes, man. Yeah, wow. Yeah, true. Lost both of them
Yeah.
this week. And Angie Stone, tragically, in a car
Yeah.
accident of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, I want to offer sincere condolences to her family, her friends, loved ones, admirers, anyone appreciative of her and her craft. Excuse me, for both ladies, mind you, both ladies.
Yeah.
Um,
No
yeah.
doubt.
So definitely.
No doubt. And Gene
Um,
Hackman, too, passed away this
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Mexico, and his wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The
Offer.
original Lex Luthor. You know what I'm saying?
Woo! Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely in tune with our movie going experiences, man. Gene Hackman has been in some of my favorite movies, from The Firm
Oh, The
to
Firm was great, right?
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
love The Firm. Yeah, that's a good one.
uh,
Yeah, I
to
love him in that movie. Yeah,
to Unforgiven with that's like
classic,
my dad's favorite joint. Yeah,
classic.
man, like he's been in a lot of joints that I've been like, wow, this dude
We got to do
really,
Unforgiven at some point.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good one. Yeah,
yeah. Nah, so definitely, I smile because not because they're gone. I don't think they're gone because their work stays with us, but because of the indelible mark that they've left as
hmm
far as me. And I'm sure I can speak on behalf of CJ of the stuff they've left behind, the creative pieces they've left behind that have touched us and helped to influence how we view movies and just the experience, man. So
yeah.
definitely,
And I mean,
rest.
music, it sticks with you. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I always remember D'Angelo saying how you can hear a song and it reminds you how some ribs taste at a barbecue.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so I know that, like Angie Stone, that
Yeah.
you know, like I wish Was it Miss You Anymore? Whatever. I'm messing the song up, but like
Yeah, I know. I know
every
what you're
time I
talking
hear that,
about.
like I think of like 2001, like
Yep.
that. It brings me right back to that time. So like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, man, yeah, definitely. Rest in peace to both of them,
Yeah.
and prayers and
Yeah.
support to their families as well.
Yes. 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 And with that being said, we're gonna talk a little bit about love.
You saw you about to the Darius Love Hall joke.
Sweet nothings whispered.
A blues
Nah.
for Nina.
Oh
Sometimes just
man.
got in like that for a second.
Uh, love is drawn in the form of a circle. No one knows when it begins, and it never ever really ends. You and I, we're just forever, always and always. And this was said by Janine to Nick. When time is no longer linear, forever is just the beginning. If love is a circle, what lines would you cross to be with your soulmate? In this gripping romantic sci-fi drama from Oscar-winning director John Ridley, Nick, played by Oscar nominee Leslie Odom Jr., and Janine, played by Oscar nominee Cynthia Erivo, are deeply in love, building a life together in a world where time travel isn't just possible, it's weaponized.
Mm.
Their happiness threatened when Janine's manipulative ex-husband Tommy, played by Orlando Bloom, uses time warping to alter the past, erasing their present and rewriting their future. As Nick's memories begin to fade, his reality fractures, forcing him into a desperate race against time to reclaim the love that feels just out of reach. But when his past intertwines with his college ex, Alex, played by Freida Pinto, Nick must decide how much is he willing to sacrifice to hold on to Janine. And if love is destined, can it truly ever be rewritten? This is a mastermizing and mesmerizing tale of fate, devotion, and the relentless pull of the heart. A needle in a time stack challenges the very nature of love, because love is a needle in a time stack.
I'm gonna do the finger snaps joint for that, man. Yo, so all right, so I haven't seen this before, and
Yeah.
I right away, and you mentioned him in the beginning, John Ridley. So
Mhm.
I was not familiar with the work. I was not familiar with what John Ridley done, and then when I looked at it, I was like,
Yeah.
wait a second, 12 Years a
Mhm.
Slave. Okay, that's like a movie I've always really liked that movie, and I like the story it tells.
Yeah.
And then Undercover Brother, which is like, and those are
Yo.
two very different movies, right? But
It's
they
different
really
ends.
deal with like race and like racism and
Mhm.
class in like
Yeah.
really clever ways. One is
Mhm.
like a very graphic drama, and the other has a comedy that's really smart and clever.
Yeah.
So when I watched this, I was like, okay, because I looked it up. I was like, okay, who's the director?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, very impressed with that right from the beginning, right? So that was one of the things. And then you mentioned them in the beginning, like Leslie Odom Jr. and
Mhm.
Cynthia Erivo, two incredibly talented
Yeah.
actors and also singers.
Mhm.
So like right away, like, okay, cool. I'm in like as soon as I saw the people, I was like, all right, cool, let me
Mhm.
watch it. So I just had to say that before we
Yeah.
get into the rest of it.
Nah, you know what it was, man? When I first peeped this joint, I was like, all right, I gotta like find something new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I've been watching some stuff, but they were older films. Like maybe I hadn't seen it in a while or something in the movie theaters. But I was like, let me revisit something that I hadn't visited before,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like a movie that I missed when it dropped in 2021.
Right,
Like,
which was
because
during the
obviously,
COVID time, which all
yeah,
messed up all the movies that
yeah,
came out then. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, all right, what did I miss? What flew underneath my radar? And I saw this, and I was like, interesting title. I didn't even get to director, actors, whatever, whatever. And then it wasn't even the Leslie and Cynthia or even John. I saw Orlando Bloom, and I was like, the pirate dude,
Oh yeah,
Legolas,
yeah.
and I was like, this sounds weird. So then that's what prompted me to see what was going on, and I was like, oh, I got to see how this turns out because
Yeah.
this sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was pleasantly surprised, man. Pleasantly surprised, not only from the topic, but from the characters, the screenplay, the lighting in this, the contrast with Janine being a photographer
Yeah.
and how she's able to digitize these pictures and then play with the different shadows and the contrasts. And I was like, oh, I like the subtleties in this. I
Yeah.
like the special effects with the wave of the time warp
Yeah, I
and
like that.
everyone being
Yeah.
affected. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And for me, it's like having seen Wicked like a couple months ago
Mm.
and having watched Harriet like
Mm-hmm.
about 30 times
Yeah.
and having seen her in the Aretha Franklin story Genius, Cynthia Erivo,
She was
amazing talent.
busy.
And that's not even counting the joint that was on ESP, I mean sorry, on HBO, The Outcast. Remember the thing
Yeah.
with her and Jason Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, to me, one of the most talented people in Hollywood, right? And
Yeah.
ironically, like as we're shooting this today on the eve of the Oscars, like
Mm.
one Academy Award away from getting the EGOT, right? So she's
Yeah.
like right on the nose of that, which shows like just what her kind of her
Right.
depth and the amount of talent that she has. So like when I saw that she was in it, I was like, okay, cool. That was like what immediately drew me there. And then like Leslie Odom Jr., he's in one of the movies that I really always liked, which is A Night in Miami. You know, the
Mm.
thing with Sam Cooke and Jim
Mm-hmm.
Brown, Malcolm X, and Muhammad
Mm-hmm.
Ali, like kind of sharing this real life experience, but the
Yeah.
dramatization of it. And
Yeah.
coming out of that, there's a song that was on that soundtrack called Speak Now, which he sings, which
Mm-hmm.
is still to this day one of my favorite songs. So
Get out of
I,
here.
I
Okay.
almost I almost watched it thinking like, damn, is there gonna be a scene where they're gonna sing?
Yeah.
Because this would be amazing if it was. They should have been jazz singers, man. Forget an architect and a photographer.
And mind you, CJ is not the one to do the whole what is it, opera,
No,
musical
I don't like
slash
musicals at
whatever.
all. I
Yeah.
don't. But
Oh man, that's
but
tough right
yeah,
there,
they
yo. He
were
said
good
I
though.
was waiting.
I thought they were. That's what I wanted. I was like, are they gonna have to sing for their love? Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Because I want something to show that talent, all that range that they got, man.
I dig it, man. Oh, that's tough right there. No, they definitely are talented, but nitpicking wise, I can't stand her claw nails, yo. She got like talent, throughout the movie. I just kept looking. I'm like, dang, if only she could get rid of them nails,
Yo,
son.
that's like the Atlanta style right there, man. Yo,
Yeah, I guess.
that's it, man. That's claws, man. Remember,
Yeah,
what was her name that had the show? It was like used to come on TNT, and it was called
yeah, it's called
Claws,
claws.
about the nail
Yeah.
salon thing. Yeah, that was a carryover from that because that was big, like early
Mm-hmm.
2020s.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing that, man. To claw your eyes out, claw your back up type thing. That's what that was all about, man.
Dude, I know I was nitpicking and all, and to each their own, but I can't stand them nails. I know we're getting sidetracked, but I gotta put this out there. Ladies, the nails, them eyelashes, no dude has ever said, you know what? Yeah, put on more nails, put on more eyelashes. No dude in the history of mankind has ever said that. I'm just saying.
It's
But with
like
that being,
it is like 400,000 dudes that have probably said that in actuality, man. For it
I
to
hope
be like that, it has, it
nah,
has.
I think that's I think that's
Not
strict.
brothers like yourself, not like
Nah,
not
I think that's
not
I think that's strictly a female thing, fam.
not people of your ilk, not like that, but other other people.
Trust and believe we're coming out with merchandise that says
It's already
people of
trademarked. It's already
yeah,
trademarked. Don't even
we
try
already
it.
got that joint,
Don't
yo.
even
We
try
already
it.
got
So
that.
wait till April. It's dropping.
Yeah, we covered. We covered. Oh man, that's tough. But I will say this in all seriousness. The devotion, the respect, the admiration they have for each other, while they're angry at each other, I don't know. That's unparalleled because I don't know how you could remain composed when you hear, oh, you went to go see your ex-man, your
Actually,
ex-husband, and
ex-husband. Yeah.
he gave you a gift, and it's been in our house, and I've been looking at this thing wondering like, why is this here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a radio, which
Yeah.
means it might have some type of listening device on it.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I was thinking immediately. Yep.
I'm,
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I'm just, and you withheld this from me, and you, what's the term that the younger generation use? Gaslit or gaslighting,
Yeah.
into believing that there was something wrong with me and wanting this cat not to be in the mix.
Yeah. That there's yeah, that's interesting, right? Like the whole
Yeah.
thing. The time travel part, right? Time travel is a funny thing in movies, man.
Yeah.
Different movies have tried to work out like
Yeah.
how does that work exactly. This movie kind of goes at it in a much different way because it turns time travel into something that like anyone can really access if you can pay for it.
Yeah.
And
And
that's got some real like bugged out effects, like including this idea that Tommy, like Orlando Bloom's character, has been messing with their timeline repeatedly in the past,
Not
and
once,
like
not twice.
right, and has erased some critical details from their lives that we, the audience, knows, but like they're not aware of. So like you see it when they change the dog Charlie, so it changes from a dog
To
to a
cat.
cat, and it's funny because like the other character what's Leslie Odom's character's name is
His name is Nick.
Nick realized like, yo, I'm not a dog person, I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the real crazy part is that he's actually already erased their children.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the real villainy of the whole
Wicked.
thing. That
No, because that
they
leads
don't
to
even
another
remember.
important. Yeah, that leads to an important question for him, because it's like, he says, "Hey, what if we had kids?" And she's like, "We'd remember that." But then one of the tenets is,
Don't
if you
remember.
can remember someone, then there hasn't been a time shift. But then it comes back to his ex-girlfriend Alex, who later becomes his wife in another alternate reality, I guess, if you will. She has kids, and it had left me wondering, like, well, is he infertile? And then in turn, is that the reason why they don't have kids right away? But then it flashes to the kids
And
joint.
then you realize it
So
was,
it's like, it has him questioning who he is as a man.
yeah.
What does he define as manhood? So throughout the movie, it's like 1 minute he's questioning if he can be vulnerable with his wife. Then he's questioning if he had children and what it means to be a father. Then he's questioning, his interaction with his sister. Is he a good brother? Because when he says to her, "Hey, essentially he says, I'm taking advice to you, but you've never been in a relationship before. Make that make sense." And she was like, "That's a messed up thing to say." Click.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when it happens to her, she's like, "You know what? You were right." So now, from a leadership standpoint, he's questioning himself.
So is it clear to you that the sister and her friend, the one who died in the rock crash, but she brought back, that they were in a romantic relationship?
Oh,
That was
that's part
exactly
of
how you.
my what you call it. Since, but we could segue
Oh
in
no
a
no
way that
don't
I
I
could.
don't want to spoil that. I don't want to spoil it. No
Yeah.
spoilers yet. No, okay, cool. Because I was trying to figure out that one out for sure. Like there's a couple of hanging threads in there, man.
Yeah,
But yeah, all right, that's
I noticed you peeped that in the pre-production meeting about some some dangling threads
yeah.
that didn't
Hang,
provide the closure,
hanging
and some
chads.
so I was
Hang,
just like,
hanging chads for those people from the '90s, man. They remember
yeah,
that expression.
we on the same wavelength, so I get you,
Yeah. So
but
then like so it's like it's an interesting. It becomes like this time travel correction kind of thing, kind of story
yeah,
where Nick is going back to try to reset time without necessarily knowing exactly what it is that he's trying to do. And there's something about like he has this enduring feeling that things are not the way that they should be, and I think that's like what drives him, which I actually think is actually a pretty clever part in the movie because it allows him to, I think, be like the obvious protagonist. He's sort of a creator and the he's antagonist and protagonist in a way in this joint, but it's like his hero arc is how does he set things right?
and it's funny you mentioned that, because my pushback would be, he's the only one who's aware of what should and shouldn't be. And
Yes.
he does have a plan at all times. It just seems to others that his plan is going, just out of whack, out of loop, like he's aloof to the entire circumstances. And by that, I mean, well, he remembers everybody keeps talking about this one pivotal juncture in their lives, them being as college students at this place, this gathering at the beach
Yeah,
in La
La
Jolla.
Jolla. Yeah, La Jolla joint.
And then in turn, he says, if I can go back to that point when he's giving the interview where he's saying, like, I was really sick, I didn't want to go,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe if I go and I interact, and then he says even further, like, oh, wait a second, I may have to sacrifice my own happiness myself, essentially my development, in order to gain something later. And not in a way of like gaining Janine or her love or anything, but more like gaining a semblance of what it means to be a complete person, of what it means to
Hmm.
give
Hmm.
Orlando Bloom's character, Tommy, that piece that he's missing. And by that, I mean, like, he talks to Alex when they're married and he says, what is it about this dude? And she says, look, I listened to him. everyone said that he was just some rich kid or whatever have you, but
Yeah.
he hurts, he has feelings, emotions, and he was overwhelmed by having to live up to the potential that his father saw into him, to
Mm-hmm.
taking on the business, to being the stereotypical rich kid.
Mm-hmm.
But all he wanted was to be accepted and to have genuine friendships. Fast forward, he remembers like her saying like also, wow, it's okay to be in love with your best friend, because he was her best friend at one time and Tommy
Yeah.
told him. So he's like, if I can go back to that point, understand the dynamic between Alex and Tommy and maybe put them together, because yeah, I love her, but as CJ pointed out to me so eloquently in our pre-production meeting, the love you have for someone may not exist in the same form or fashion as it was when you were engaged in that romantic relationship,
Yeah.
because
It
love
changed.
doesn't die. So I think he flips it and then he decides to, bow out gracefully, because he also understands what it's like to be on the opposite end of that.
Yeah, the relationship between Nick and Tommy is like to me they're almost
Mm,
like frenemies
yeah.
more, more than anything else. And it's like it reminds me, do you ever see this movie called Closer?
Yeah.
It
I
had
think I
like
have. If
with what's it? It had Julia Roberts, Clive Owen,
I
Natalie
think, yeah, I was just,
Portman,
where
and
they're battling. I think I don't mean to interject, but I just want to make sure it's the same movie I'm thinking of. Julia Roberts and Clive Owen's characters, they're basically like in competition. I think they might even be like spies or something with the government
no.
agency or
It's
whatever.
a romantic. It's a like a semi romantic film, but it's about these
Okay.
four. It's about these four people that are basically they're switching who's with who. So like
Oh, I don't think I've seen
at
that.
one point, Clive Owen is with Julia Roberts, and Natalie Portman is with what's his name? He's an English actor. I think you might be looking it up. You'll see it.
Jude Law.
Jude Law, right? And the movie is like them sort of switching who they're with, and it's based on a play. But it reminds me, it's kind of interesting with these four people because, you have Nick and Tommy who could really kind of be with Alex, or they could be with Janine, depending on how things work out. So it's fun. Like when you started
Crazy.
talking about that, it made me think of that movie and kind of how the dynamics around it works. Because like Alex, in a way, Tommy and Nick are kind of playing with Alex's reality more so than anything else because depending on what they want, that's who she ends up with. Whereas, like, what if Alex one day decides she's going to go to one of these places and she like, I want to be with Janine. And then all of a sudden, it's a whole different reality for everybody.
The sick thing about that is she's the only truly innocent one in all this.
Yeah.
She's
Well, yeah.
like, a case
Well,
could
I
be,
think Janine too.
nah, no case can be made where it's like, yo, that's the homie. We're not supposed to do that.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Yes, true. Good point.
Yeah,
Good
like,
point. Good point.
nah,
Good
we
point.
don't do
Yeah.
that. We
Good
don't do
point.
nothing like that. Like Alex, Alex is the one who's basically like, look, I was with Nick. He didn't want to be with me on one level or another. He didn't want to be with me, whether it
Right.
be when he was with Janine or when he has the marriage and is like still remembering Janine, or even when he goes back in time to the college point and cuts things off. At each point, it's Nick making the decision like, hey, I don't want to be with you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then in turn, she's left to pick up the pieces. And I think we all can relate to just that struggle in itself, because it takes time to heal all wounds.
Absolutely.
Yet at the same token, in the one choice where she ends up being with Tommy, what if she's to say like, hey, you know what? Maybe I just didn't want to be with Tommy, but they manipulated things so that
Yeah.
it forced her into that route. So I would argue she's the only truly innocent in it.
Yeah,
Whereas
she's getting pushed. She's like the chess piece in the movie,
yeah,
and you don't really see. Yeah, that's a good insight, man. I agree with that too. She's the one who is really the at the influence of everybody else's story and dynamics. Also, man, yo, like Nick and Tommy's relationship is just messy because like if that's
a
your
point that I want to emphasize, and that is the character of Zoe and what
okay,
she
the sister.
embodies. Yeah, the sister.
Okay,
Um, she seems to represent this dogma of feminism. And what I mean by that is, um, she is the stereotypical female who uh, can't be reasoned with, or if you do, and it goes against any type of pre-existing belief, she offers an immediate outburst of rage. Oh, how could you say this? Uh, that was cold. That was meanful. I mean, that was mean. That wasn't heartfelt. For example, when he tells her, "Hey, how could you relate to what it is that I'm experiencing right now when you've never been married? Um, rather than having a very mature, emotionally mature discussion about what that entails as far as a marriage, she immediately shuts down. And it's not until her so-called best friend Sibelia passes away to a tragic rock climbing incident that she says herself, "Hey, you know what? I was wrong. Um, Fight for your wife and hold on to her at all costs. I now understand what it was, the emotional roller coaster ride that you were going under when people
Mm-hmm.
were telling you it's one way versus another." I think that's a symbol throughout the movie, and that capsulizes that notion of when everyone's going left, it's okay to go right, or vice versa, to be the deviant out of the group. It doesn't necessarily make you wrong. It just means that your convictions must remain true to who you are at your very core. So for him, he was under the belief like, hey, I am so firm that my love for Janine is this. It's grounded in reality. We have a healthy relationship. It's not an obsession. It's one of being tender, of being sincere, of being open and honest from the way they're communicating verbally and non-verbally. Whereas with Zoe, her immediate go-to is to shut everything down when it's not going her way. Hey, you should go rock climbing. No, I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Oh, yeah? Why don't you feel comfortable in doing safe would
Because
be
it's
the
rock
natural
climbing. Because it's
response.
rock climbing.
That would be the natural discussion of things. No, it's no, you're boring, you're stale, you don't want to do anything, you're not living life. What? How do we get to that point?
But
Maybe
is
we
that
just
not
don't have.
like is that like some sibling stuff though? Because like siblings
No,
kind of
I
attack
get.
each other all the time on
Yeah,
like
no, I
basic
get
kind of
that.
the things they say.
But fast forward to the point where he ends up injuring his knee and they're all laying down there. So
Mhm.
that could have been something far more severe. He knew his body's limitations,
Yeah,
but yet she kept pushing him to go past those so-called boundaries. I think these things exist for a reason. I think life is much more precious because we understand that it's finite. We
yeah.
understand that, like, hey, we're fragile. I think it's like, hey, you know what? We've got to hold on to whatever it is we have because it took a long time to get there. Like you've told me in the past, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna go say. I thought you were gonna say something else with the Zoe character because she does something that I'm trying to figure out like what the mechanics of it are because she essentially brings her friend back to life, right? Like she goes
Oh yeah,
back,
no.
tampers
She
with the
commits
time
crime.
stream in a way that is like really kind of messed up in some ways, and it creates it actually is one of the things that creates such a problem in the story that the fact that it never really gets addressed is like one of those things that I say like is a problem for me in the film itself. But the idea of like what you experience, and I think this is something that's a trait that she shares with Tommy, probably with Tommy more so than Nick. Nick is a little bit different with this. Is this idea of like I want things to be the way that I want them to be, and if I
Hmm.
have means to change them and how I want them to be, then I will do it to make it that way. And it's a little
Yeah.
different with Nick because Nick at least is in his reality from the beginning. Tommy
Hmm.
changed things to get back to Janine, and Zoe's trying to change things to get back to Sabila. They're both kind of the same, and I thought like in the context of the film, it was kind of to show Nick like two kind of ways that these two people that are very important to him kind of have the same ideology when it comes to like getting what they want at the expense of anything and everyone else.
Oh no, I definitely agree with you with that. I was just trying to hold off because I did recognize, as we discussed in the pre-production meeting, that that was part of your hate,
Yeah.
and I
We got
feel we.
look. Let's get.
And that's why I was like, we could get to that
No,
when you're ready to do that.
all
So you
right,
know what I mean?
now let's do it. Let's
So
do
that's,
it.
but that was the segue. That's another thing I don't like that I share in common with you about that other aspect of her, which is she is manipulative. She is maniacal in getting what she wants, and it doesn't matter what the repercussions are. And I think the movie is about the consequences of your actions and having to deal with that. How do you like truly unravel who you are by accepting, like, yeah, I did this wrong
Yeah.
and this is what I'm going to do right. Matter of fact, my man CJ
Let's get
hit me
into
with the brilliant.
let's get into
No, no, I'm going to get to that.
let's get
He-
let's get into the cake, man. Because you bringing up the stuff that I want to get into now.
well, we could get into that. I think one thing I liked about it was you saying the muscles tear in order to make you stronger. So like when you're lifting weights, you're literally breaking down muscle to bring it back up. And then you liken that akin to heartache, heart pain, the muscle of your heart, if you will, using that as a symbol, the whole heart shape thing. Having that heartbreak allows you to go into the next relationship a more healthy, well-rounded individual, because you understand like the mistakes that you made and how not to replicate those.
Yeah. And
So you do have
no one
growth.
gets to that in the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And no, I would argue in order to get through that heartache, Nick had to truly suffer and repent. I would liken it to the flogging, the self-flogging that a lot of Catholics
Mm-hmm.
during the 1600s did and inflicted upon themselves, where their penance was to basically self-mutilate in a way.
Yeah,
So
I know what it
Nick,
means. Yeah,
he
but
cuts ties with everyone. Oh no, I know you know what it
yeah.
means.
But what is Nick giving?
CJ,
But what is Nick giving up though?
oh, he gave up his friends. He gave up a lifestyle that he was accustomed to. He was a successful architect,
Well, so,
where you saw the two different houses he had. Now he goes to a 1-bedroom apartment, eating stale food, living in a diner,
good point. Good point. No, fair. Good
not having
stuff.
a social
Good
life.
stuff. But he
So
doesn't. But he doesn't know that that's the outcome though. Like that's
oh
the.
no, no,
He doesn't know that that's what's going to happen. He just knows that he doesn't feel like he should be with Alex, and he feels like maybe Alex and Tommy should be together. Which is like
no.
this is like part. Well, good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
Well,
get to
that's
it.
my
I'm gonna get to it in my hate. But good.
no, but that's the part that I would like to touch upon as far as a like. I think that innately he knows that there's something better for him, a more
Yes, I agree with that.
well-rounded life.
I agree with that.
And
Yes.
part of that is like those tokens of a nice house, nice wife, nice car, nice things. And he is the antithesis of that. And he's sacrificed all that, knowing that, I'm an intelligent guy, I'm decent looking, et cetera, et cetera. I could have these things, but
Yeah.
something not sharing that with the person you love, it doesn't mean the same. It doesn't have the same uh, 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 feeling of joy and happiness that
Absolutely.
would be
Mm-hmm.
evoked by all that. And I like that aspect of the story. I like the characters as a whole, as far as what they balance each other out and things of that nature. I also like the fact of the lighting and the contrast, where Janine is a
Mm-hmm.
photographer. She's able to play with the lighting and the contrast within the pictures she's taking. I like the overall story of, hey, you know what? There's redemption in all of us if our intentions are pure, and that it may call for sacrifice. You may not be able to go out and party all the time and do this, that, and the third, but eventually through hard work, through preparation, through commitment, through humility, you're able to get there. But we can segue to your like, or better yet, you liking the hate,
No.
whichever
I
you
mean, I
prefer.
got cake for this movie. No, I
Oh,
do. I got
okay.
cake for this. Yeah, I got things I do like. Like I talked about a little earlier, but I do think that Nick and Tommy's relationship is kind of interesting because it's like they're antagonistic towards each other, and
Mhm.
you're kind of like in competition over women. Like
Yeah.
that's you kind of break it all down. Like maybe at some point, Tommy sort of felt like, oh, Nick was with Alex, I want to be
Yeah.
with her, and then then Nick is like, oh, you with Janine, I want to be with her. So like they got their little competition thing, which I think is kind of funny to watch in the movie, and I wish it kind of leaned into it a little bit more. But
Mm.
I'll explain. I'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
You mentioned like one of the visual effects that they use, which they use this a lot in the movie, but I like it is they'll show like a memory or something that
Mm.
happened by showing the scene without any dialogue or without any
Yeah.
sound. I every time they do that, I really liked that effect in the movie. I'm sure there's been other movies that use it, but this one is like will be the one that I always remember doing it. So
Hmm.
just from a directing photography standpoint, I love that scene. And then I think it's funny that Nick kind of ends up in the same place with a relationship, no matter who he's with. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is, he starts off at the movie in the beginning talking to Janine and saying, I look at you from across the room and I wonder
Mm.
if I would be with you if I never saw you again. And then he says the same thing to Alex later on. And I think that's funny because it's like, it kind of tampers with that idea of, are you really a different person in a different relationship with someone? Or is who you are, and you'll kind of follow the same script over and over again. Nick has got the kind of like the same game, no matter who he's with, and it works. Like it's effective game, but I just like the little like detail that he's him no matter who he's with, and I think that's like there's something empowering about that. I know they kind of play around with it a little bit, but I like that as a point.
Or it could be a combination of the two, man. Like he is who he is with them, but he has a type. And whatever that type is, it evokes that within him to say these things.
But he's
So
saying
for
the same
example,
thing though.
yeah. No.
He's saying the
That's what
same thing.
both women are career driven. They're very
Yeah. No, they could
articulate.
be the same person, but you
They're
say the
beautiful.
same thing to somebody, that's a little different though.
I think that brings out that him saying that expression to them because those are the two loves of his life. They're the
Yeah.
bookends of his
Yeah.
life. So
Yeah.
that would evoke by that. So I could
Yeah.
see why he would say that.
Yeah.
With Janine, I like Janine's character in that aspect where she brings that out of him. And the same thing with Alex. She brings that out of him. Because remember,
That's my point though. They don't bring nothing out of him. That's who
you don't
he
think
is.
so?
That's the point. No, that's my point.
Mm.
I think it's saying like he's gonna be this type of dude in a relationship no matter what. That's the point that I think that's what I think is the cake part about it because
No.
the contrast is you're different based on who you are. And I
Mm.
think this is saying like, no, actually, you would be the same person no matter who you're with because that's who you are. And he doesn't lose that because he goes back in time or because he comes forward in time. He's still that person. Like he even remembers I'm a dog person, even when
Yeah.
his reality changes, because that's who he is. It doesn't matter like all the other things, all the exterior things, who he is on the inside is who he is. So that's what I'm saying with that.
Yeah, no. I get that. That's tight though. I can see that. Let's get into the hate though, man. Your
Go ahead, man.
favorite
You got
aspect.
it, man. You
You're
got it.
up. You're up.
You got
I'm
it.
curious.
Mine is okay. All right. You sure you want me to go first? Because this is your
I
pick,
am
man.
definitely sure I want you to go
Okay.
with this.
All right. First, the technology part. Okay.
Mm.
So if a technology exists that's going to allow people to randomly rewrite history, right? The technology to prevent that has got to be stronger or
Mm.
as good. Like
Okay.
the gap in like basically anybody with money can go and reset time. There's
Mm.
got to be better protections in place than it is now. Like we're seeing it on like a smaller, I want to be with your girl kind of thing. But what if it was like I want to be president type of thing? Like what are the thing about the implications of people who can just have money or have enough money being able to switch time without there being real repercussions to it? Like there's got to be some sort of better defense mechanisms in there. And there's also like this scene where when Sabila dies and Zoe says I had to go to her parents and talk to them and they don't speak English and they don't speak my language, so I just had to keep saying your daughter's dead
Louder.
or louder, right? And I was sitting there and I was watching like, hold up, so y'all got technology to go back in time and change the past, but y'all got something that allows like y'all don't got Google Translate, like, like what are we doing here? So that's one thing. So that's the time how the time thing works is just one of the things that didn't work for me. There's a certain and I said there's a certain implausibility of the time travel problem, which is if I change time to get to be with someone that I was with previously, it doesn't actually guarantee that I'll stay with them because I don't remember that I wasn't with them to begin with or the circumstances that led me to not be with them. So even when Tommy goes back and he messes up time to be with Janine, it doesn't guarantee him that he's not going to just create the same situation again because he doesn't remember the situation that created the problem in the first place. So it's like the time like the time machine kind of thing is a hard thing in movies because it works best if you remember what it was before. But in this movie, because no one remembers what they changed at a certain level or what was changed at a certain level, they can't recall how to fix the problem of what they did in the first place. So that was just like one of the time conundrums there. What else did I didn't like? The hanging story. There's a couple of things like the Zoe committed time crime, so that's a problem. Like in the movie, they kind of tell you that if you change time in a significant way, there's a consequence for it. They should have came and got her. That should have been like some Minority Report kind of stuff, and that didn't happen. Um, the last two things really quickly. Tommy is a villain here. Tommy like actually erased their children. There's no consequence for him for that whatsoever. Like that's really evil and like what the hell like like what the hell like he that's like would Nick have really tried to give him a good ending if he remembered that part like he probably would have put him in the ocean or something like that for doing that. And Cynthia Erivo's in it. We talked about it before. She's incredibly talented. She's actually not in the movie as much as I thought she would be. It really is like Nick is in there a lot, and actually by extension, Alex is too. You don't really see a lot of Cynthia Erivo. I would just like to see her more of it. That's what I got. Boom. What's your hate, sir?
Wow, that's tough. I have to address some of these things though.
No, you don't. You just go with what's your hate, sir?
None of what you said is part of my hate.
Okay.
I definitely don't like the character of Zoe, which I've mentioned briefly about. But to go further is to piggyback off of the crime thing. Like her loved one, her quote unquote best friend died, which I have a problem with, and I'll get to that later on. And then she's comfortable making the change to it. She essentially says like, look, I don't care. I went broke over it. I don't care about
issue.
Yeah, I don't care about. So it speaks volumes to her selfishness and her narcissism, to where like, hey, I'm going to tell you not to do this, but it's okay for me to do it, essentially. So, I have a problem with that. I also have difficulty with the nature of the relationship between Tommy and Nick. I don't know if like I could be cool with someone who married my ex-wife, or if I married somebody's wife.
Yeah, they're joint. Yeah, they're on site in real life. They're on site. Yeah. Yeah. In real life, they're on site. I agree with that.
Because it's funny how he's like, no one owns anyone, no one's anyone's property. Yet you feel it's okay for you to sabotage this man's marriage, and so that she can be with you again. Because you recognize you messed up. You had a good thing, and then, for whatever reason, things fell apart. You say it was the job. Okay, whatever. Maybe it's just your narcissism is just so overwhelming that, hey, you know what? She understood that you're not a healthy person, and let bygones be bygones and move forward. And last but not least, I think the thing that I have a real problem with is that just the self-loathing that Nick has, and it's like the last quarter of the movie where he's just this dude seems so mopey and just diminished as like as far as a person. Like no one wants to be around that. No one.
They don't. Yeah.
So when they're sitting there saying to him like, "Hey, you don't come around," no, you don't come around. You don't check on him, and you don't come around because you're thinking like you're a weak, or as one of our good friends say, a kitchen bee. So like you're sitting there and you're like, yo, what are you doing? Like, get it together. But instead of actually having that conversation, you guys just choose to ghost him.
Like, yeah, but wait. But I think, well, good. No, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think they do try to get him out of his shell, don't they? They do.
Not
they actually are trying to get him. No, that's when he does it. That's when he does it. We don't know that we don't know that they didn't try to get him. We just know that like that's when he decides finally to get out of the house.
All I know is,
and that's actually the life he created for himself.
Alex, he created it for himself out of necessity almost. Alex says to him, quote, "Is that why you didn't come around? Because of me?"
But it wasn't. He doesn't even remember that.
No. He looks at it and he says,
But he doesn't. True. But he doesn't remember that he went back in time to change time to not be with her. That's
no.
That's the point I made.
I don't think he does. I don't not acknowledge that point. Like I firmly believe, he doesn't remember that he went and changed that. But what he does remember is that he got a letter saying stay away. They broken up, whatever. So he's holding on to that because he's like, yo, I know you're gonna have questions, yada yada yada. And he holds on to that. And with that being said, it leads to these other actions, which, you can look at it as a good thing where he's helping other people achieve their dreams, be happy, successful, et cetera, et cetera. But at what cost is it to him as a man, as a person, as a human, as a husband, a brother, a son? How is this detrimental to his overall well-being and sense of self? And I think that is the question at the heart of this whole thing. A relationship is supposed to enhance you. It's not supposed to be to the detriment. You should be a complete person, don't get me wrong. But it's like the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. You know what I mean? Like you can still enjoy ice cream and be totally fine.
But that's an interesting point though, because like you said that one of the things you didn't like, and I didn't like it either, was like Nick's sort of self-loathing,
Hmm.
right? So why doesn't Nick have a good life regardless?
I think it's
Like Nick has a responsibility to have a good life,
hmm
regardless of whether he's with Alex or Janine. His
yeah,
life should be good. He shouldn't be eating cat food because he's not with this girl from like college. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got to get your life together. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like he still got that responsibility, which he shirks. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Like he shirks. He's kind of like that version of Nick that you see at the end is the least like virile version of the
hmm
character. And
no
like,
question.
why did he decide to do that? Why wasn't he like in a penthouse somewhere chilling? Like maybe he's by himself. Maybe he got 10 girls, but he wants to be with Janine. Okay, fine. I'll buy that. Like why is he's in the eating cat food? Like, come on, man. Like, do better
I
than that.
think no, I think that there is life is is based upon symbiosis. There's a give and a take. Just like the rhinoceros and the bird that picks off like the nasty parasites and all this other stuff. So I
Mhm,
think that him not having a support system, see, that's the key. His sister couldn't be that for him to the degree that he needed. There were other supplemental parts and components that helped to enhance who he
mhm,
was. So that they always go back to it, the La Jolla thing. So for us, even we have friends in our life that we share in common that have helped to make us better people. And then there's others along the way that we've had to discard for whatever reason, because they were
mhm,
either not into our program, whatever. And I think
mhm,
those aspects help to enhance him as an overall healthy person. But stripped of those things and left to his own devices, where he's just at the core. Sure, he has a job and he goes
mhm.
to work, and he's a very, let's just say, average employee, right?
Yeah.
He's still he's still doing what it needs to do in order to survive from that aspect. Still maintains contact with his sister,
Yeah,
so
I
he's a
got it. He's
loving
got all
brother.
the things. Yeah, he's got all those things.
It's just that one aspect where I truly believe like we were not created to be alone.
He
And
doesn't have to be
it,
alone. It's I mean, women there are in the world. He doesn't
I
have to be alone. His whole
and
world's got to be bigger than two women, though. It's got to be
oh,
bigger
of
than Alex
course,
and Janine.
no
Okay,
question.
so because things didn't work out with Alex and he hasn't met Janine yet, he shouldn't be in the house eating cat food. That's the point I'm making. Like
I
that.
know,
Like
and I get that point, and I understand that. However, perhaps he had taken so many setbacks because remember when
I
he's
don't
in
know
college.
that. I don't know that though.
Oh no
I
no no
know it's
no
in the
no!
movie. I know
Oh,
it's in the
in the movie,
movie.
no, in the
Yes.
movie, it's talking about the setbacks he had after he went back, gave himself that letter. He
Hmm.
graduates, but he's not chilling with those people anymore. So his
Right.
friend group, that's deaded. Now he's on
Right.
his own. He's focusing on his studies. He knows that he's into architecture and et cetera, et cetera. But
Mhm.
maybe they also had hit him off with the intern. We don't know, whatever have you. But what we do know is that those friendships were instrumental in his professional life.
I
And
don't know
that's
that. I
oh
don't know
yeah,
that. That
in the beginning when it talks about like how they all had similar interests and they went to
right.
school and they were similar colleges,
Right.
whatever have you. So
So he still has the same friends. He
no,
just
they were
decided not to
gone.
be with Alex. He
No,
just
that was
decided not to be with Alex. But he doesn't lose all of his friendships. If he lost all of his friendships because he's not with Alex, they weren't his friends to begin with. They were Alex's friends.
no. If you're in a friend group and as the saying goes, when someone gets divorced, certain friends
They
go with
weren't
that.
married. They're boyfriend and girlfriend though.
Right.
They're not married though. They're all right. We can agree to disagree on this. He shouldn't
I guess
my
so.
thing is he shouldn't be eating cat food because he can't be with this girl. That's all I'm saying.
And I don't think
He,
that's the reason why. Matter of fact, I know that's not the reason why.
okay.
I so we'll just agree to disagree on that one.
Okay. Okay. All right. We agree to disagree on that one.
But in
All right.
conclusion to my hate of the movie, I would definitely say that besides the self-loathing and the moping and the mistreatment of who he is supposed to signify, I think it also ties into the fact of like, yo, he had to give up everything for this dude who was a frenemy so that that dude could be happy, so that in the end he could meet that person. But it does tie a nice bow because
Yeah.
Janine does say, I mean, excuse me, Alex does say, and it's apropos that she says it, the past leads us to where we need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. No, that was nice. They did put a nice bow
Yep.
on it at the end. They did. They did. Alex has gotten a good outcome.
That's what
Maybe.
I'm saying. She's the true protagonist of the
Maybe.
movie. She's the one who's
Yeah.
truly innocent in all this.
Maybe. I mean, she's innocent. I agree with you. Whether or not she gets a good outcome is the question. I got a question for you about that one.
Okay. Okay.
So I got that. Can I jump into the? Can we go get into the questions? I got a
By
couple
all means. By all
on this.
means.
All right. So here's my first one. All right, and this kind of is reflected in the movie itself. So, does changing the past really change the future? Like, maybe we can use this movie as an example, but there's a lot of movies where time travel happens. Like, is that really possible? Can you really do that?
This is tough for me, man, because every movie that deals with time travel always talks about how if you mess with time, time tends to
Time
mess
messes
back.
backwards.
Man, I'm
Yeah.
tired of that BS. I want a movie where, I go back in time and things were terrible and now things are great. I'm tired of the pessimism about time travel and you doing this and it creates another branch and you can't go back to do this. Otherwise, why don't we just baby Hitler?
Yeah.
Later to that. So, with
Shout out
that
to
in mind,
Endgame, by the way. shout out to
no doubt.
Endgame and the references to it, and that's the
So, with that being said, this is tough for me, but I'm going to agree with your first statement about, hey, you won't remember it was the thing that it was that made you to change these things. So you're only going to replicate the same bad decisions, if you will.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it will, and well, actually, perfectly segues into my next question. And I don't know if you're gonna have an answer for it based on what you just said, but all right. So this movie has a time travel component to it. What movie would you say handles time travel the best? And if you say it's this one, that's fine too.
Um, Honestly, I think every movie gets it wrong. Every
Okay.
movie, from
Okay.
Interstellar to this movie, and the reason
All right.
why I think
Interstellar's another one too. Yeah. Yeah.
the reason why it gets it wrong is that mankind doesn't have the power to go back in time to do these things. And I don't mean from a practical standpoint, whatever. I mean, like, we're mortal for a reason. I don't think we have
Mm,
it within us to go back in time and be truly altruistic. Every motivation
mm,
would be for selfish means. So therefore, the entire concept itself is null and void. You know,
mm.
we go back in time and we're just playing the game of, well, I do it to get rich. So I play the lottery, a la Back to the Future, and bet on all the different World
Yeah.
Series winners. And you turn into Biff, and he ends up dying anyway. Oh,
Yeah.
I go back to um, I go back to what is it? Time Cop, where he goes back to try and save his wife, John Claude Van
Hmm.
Damme's character.
Hmm.
All right, so you may get the happy ending, but remember that guy who you were fighting and everything, he has a family who's missing him and loving him, et cetera, et cetera. So now your family's more important than his.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's interesting. So what you're saying is like basically how we experience time is the foundation of reality.
yeah,
And if we start jacking with that, then we jack with reality itself. Not just reality, but with like the meaning of life.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
That's
like I
deep.
said before, like
Okay.
life is precious because we know that it's finite. We know
Yeah.
that there are so many things that are so pivotal to having a very stable, structured, loving,
Yeah.
caring lifestyle. You mess with
Yeah.
any of those things, you pull on the thread of any of those things, and your whole world collapses.
Yeah. You know what, man? That right there, that's a 5 box answer, man. That's a 5 box answer in this joint, man. All right. I got a couple more. All
Yeah.
right. So how much do you think it costs to go back in time? They never tell you exactly how
Ah,
it is. Well, what do you think that bill was? Because you see Nick look at it, he looks at it like, damn.
yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but what do you think that bill is?
Well, I know it's got to be more than a mortgage. And what I mean by a mortgage, I mean like the entire payment, interest, insurance, everything after your 50 years, 30-year joint. You know what I mean? Like,
So you think it's like the value of whatever the house is. So
I
put
think,
a number on it. Like what's the number that you think that number that was?
remember they had the time limit on there too. So he had
Mm-hmm.
like the little clock joint going off. So I think at the starting point, even with Zoe, because she said, I have nothing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's at least $250,000 just to go in like for a 5 minute joint.
Yeah.
Just a 5 minute,
That's
like, you know what I mean? Like hop in, hey, and get out. Yeah.
quarter of
I
a
think
mil. I like that. I like that. I like that. It has to
because you
be.
still,
It has to be. It has to be so much
yeah.
that you can't really do it. Like everybody can't do it,
And I
but
think
it's
that's
got to be enough that people can do it if they want to.
but see, and I
Like you
think
could
that's
save up to mess with time.
And I think that's the thing you were talking about, like the safeguards and something that has to be greater. Well, it
Mm-hmm.
limits it based upon the amount of money you can make. So not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can go out and commit a crime and be like, all right, now I'm going back in time because I got the money for it. Nah,
Yeah.
you got to have like, you can't be rich. You got to be wealthy.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Yeah, okay. All right, cool. So this is my next one. I got a question about Tommy and Alex. So do
Mhm.
Tommy and Alex stay together?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
You think so?
But you know me, I'm an optimist. I'm a romantic at heart, and I really believe that they do. I think the baby strengthens their bonds and their commitment to one
I can see
another,
that.
and yeah, I think that he feels complete and whole, and I think in turn that reverberates into their relationship.
I got it. I can see that.
Yeah,
All right, last question, man. This is kind of like we mentioned Cynthia Erivo earlier,
yeah.
on the verge of perhaps winning an Oscar and becoming an EGOT. But as we're taping this, the Oscars are tonight. You got any Oscar predictions for the world,
Y-
man? Something that we can put
yeah.
on FanDuel and get some money from on bets?
Well, speaking of Cynthia, I think that her movie Wicked is like the movie that like everybody, like, what is it, last year was Barbie and Oppenheimer. This year
Hmm.
it's going to be Wicked. I think that's going to be like the movie where it wins a bunch of awards, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And I also think that Demi Moore's movie, because she already won Best Actress, I think this is going to be her night where she's going to be the belle of the ball. You know, they're going to talk about her looks and her age, and might even segue a little bit to Bruce Willis, but then it's going to come back home.
Oh, I see
Yeah,
that angle. Yeah.
yeah, but then it's going to come back around to her winning and her winning at that age and what she represents and
Hmm.
signifies for all women and womanhood. And yeah, I think it's going to be her night.
So Demi Moore and Wicked,
Yeah,
big winners for
the
tonight.
big winners.
Okay.
Everything else is a
All right.
crapshoot.
All right. There it is, man. That's my questions, man. What you got for me, man?
Oh man, so we about to go there. Okay, so
I know we about to go there now, man, because these are the PhD level questions right here. We got
well, you know
make
we
sure I'm
got the you know
clear headed, man, for
well,
these
you know we
ones,
got
man.
the gourmet popcorn, so you know it's only right that
Hey,
we
gourmet questions, right?
come with the gourmet questions. So that being said, can love endure in a future where time is fluid?
Yo, great question. No, hell no,
Mm.
man. I don't. No, not like this because, like, even if you feel like okay, because we talked about Alex, right? Alex loves Nick, right?
Yes.
Even in that reality,
Hmm.
she loves Nick, and
Yeah.
Nick, like that morning when she gets up, she like Nick, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I
She's
see when I get
happy.
home,
Yeah.
and right, she's good, and Nick is like, yeah, you ain't gonna see me when you get home. You gone. Like, imagine how messed up life would be. Like it's like part of breaking up is like it's hard, right? What if it's not that hard anymore? You'd be like, man, wait till I get this tax return, man. I'm going down here. I'm getting rid of you. When you get somebody else, like that's a hard world to live in, man. Like, goodness gracious. Like, do you know how like do you know the kind of like madness that people would do if they could have access to like doing this type of stuff on a regular basis? And let's say like you said it was 250, right? Let's just
That's the
say,
starting
let's say
point.
it's 100. Let's say it's 100. Let's just to make it funny, right? Let's say it's 100,000, right? Okay. Dudes will empty their 401k for 100 G's and they're going back to like their high school prom to hit their old high school girlfriend, man. That's what they're going to do and mess up their whole reality, man. This is a very big problem. This is a very big problem. And and it can't happen. So no, love cannot exist in a world like if it is, it's temporary because you never know when the person's gonna delete you. Every morning you gotta wake up like, are we still together? Are we still in love? Who is this person? Like that's a
yo,
nightmare world right there,
yo,
man.
this man
That's a
said,
nightmare world.
hell no. It's, oh man, there's so many things on the, I don't even know.
It's a nightmare world, man.
Oh, yo, he came out guns blazing. Oh man, yo, folks, I'm crying over here. If you don't have the video, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, I gotta go. I can't even address it. Number two, how much? Yo, it's because we'll be here all day. How much of our identity is shaped by our memories? Remember now, mind you, Nick's reality shifts as a part of his altered state, his altered being, et cetera, et cetera. And he struggles with that, as we already commented on ad nauseum. Um, And,
Yeah.
it's your memories that define you and your life. You know what I mean? So, how is it, or if rather we lose our memories, do we also lose our true selves?
Yeah. It's another really good question too. It's funny, like watching this movie, I actually started looking back at like how personality develops
Yeah.
and like because like some people say, well, personalities form like from the time like by the
Mm-hmm.
time you're about 7 or 8,
Yeah.
you are who you are. There's other theories that say like personality is an evolving thing that happens over time,
Mm-hmm.
but it happens like at these critical moments in life where you overcome like a certain challenge in that string of time. I say that to say is if you have the ability to keep going back and you never move forward with the existing time and the existing challenges of that time, your personality is going to be impacted.
Yeah.
So the idea of your identity, if your identity is what you think about yourself based on your experiences, if you're losing the experiences, your identity has to change along with it. So I would say, yeah, it has to make a difference.
I dig it, man. That's tough right there.
And
So,
maybe, and to your point, maybe that's why the last version of Nick. All right, I can get what you're saying now. I had to think about it. I get you. Maybe that's why Nick is like, eating cat food at the end because he's jacked around with his experiences too much. All right, I didn't talk myself into it. No, I got there. Okay, cool. I see where you are. I got you. I got you. No, that's a good point. That's a good
oh,
point.
man, that's
I got
crazy. Speaking of
you. Okay.
Nick, now, like we mentioned before, Nick is forced to deal with some very painful choices. Does he fight to restore, that relationship with Janine, or does he acquiesce and fight for the relationship prior to that with Alex? When does holding on, we hear all these songs about, I'm holding on to your love, I'm down on bended knee, come back to
Yeah,
me,
all that.
baby, stay.
Yeah,
When does that
sympathize.
holding on become more painful than moving forward? Should he just let go of the past and accept this new reality that he's developing?
Yeah, it's tricky, man. Because in this movie, Nick knows that there's some like, even though he gets like that nonsense picture of
Yeah.
Janine
Mhm.
that looks like what your kid does when they're playing with your
Yeah,
phone,
that
like that type
film.
of
Yeah,
thing.
that recording he got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but what the recording showed him was there was something that he was trying to remember.
Mm.
And I think like even the title, the needle in the time stack, like needle in the haystack,
Hmm.
is like that idea of like hay itself is like comfortable, but if
Yeah.
there's a needle in there, it's gonna prick you.
Hmm.
And I think like that prick in his mind was like, dang, there was some reason why I
Yeah.
thought it was important enough to get this time capsule,
Hmm.
and he couldn't let go of it. Right, to his credit. So I think I understand why he did it. But for the average person in real life, I think that
In
like
real life.
in real life, I think that you have to treat your experiences as like a necessary part of your evolution.
Mm.
And if you don't move forward, then you're not going to evolve. So like you have to do the hard work of moving past your disappointments and your victories.
Mm.
Because you can't, like it's funny, like one of these guys I was talking to last week was saying how you don't live off old air.
Ooh.
Like you take a breath in,
Yeah.
you got to breathe it out. You got to breathe in again. If you try to live off old air, you'd be dead.
It's
So as
true.
long as you're around, you got to keep breathing new air. You got to keep moving forward. So it's hard, but you have to forget. You not forget, but you gotta forgive and move on from whatever your experience is. And the hardest thing to forgive sometimes is yourself. So
Mm. Yeah.
that's the thing that really keeps us usually frozen in time, especially when you have like situations where people are like, oh, this one that got away and all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, okay, I get that, but they got away for a reason. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And you made those decisions. You got to believe that there's something better for you
Mm. And better for them, perhaps.
and better for them, perhaps. Yeah, because like Alex is good.
Yeah.
She good, and Nick and Janine might have a good relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might. Maybe
Yeah.
she only likes rich dudes though.
This is true. Maybe she got a type. Maybe she, maybe, it's
Maybe they got enough money for
yeah, you know what I
it.
mean? Like she's monkey branching, you know what I mean? Like, hey, something to be said for it. Something to be said. So my last question for you, sir, is if you could go back in time, would you? And if so, where, when, and why? And elaborate if you can,
What I
please.
do?
Yeah, what would you do?
Yeah, man. This is the thing, man. I was really sure of my answer on this, and then you made me feel bad because of what you just said about Biff from from Back to the Future. But I would absolutely go back in time to about 2007, 8. and tell the version of me like a letter
Invest
slide under the
hard.
door, it would say, buy all the
Yeah,
Bitcoin you can. That's what it would
I
say.
knew it. I
It
knew it.
would say that. And that version of me would be like, Bitcoin, what's this?
Yeah.
Look at it. Hopefully he'd be like, oh, Bitcoin is 32 cents. I guess, all right, buy all of it I can.
Yeah.
Look, it'd be much different.
Mm,
We wouldn't be doing this podcast, right?
No, we be filming movies, yo. We be filming movies.
Hey, much different, right?
Yeah.
Right. We be making needle in the
Yeah.
Timestack. Cynthia, come here and say,
Yeah.
look, on this scene, right? The blocking is like it'd be completely different reality.
Yo, let me holler at you for a minute.
Cut. Let me see that. Like, give me the binocular. Hey, I got this idea. We're gonna like show the scene, but it's not gonna be no volume behind it. Yeah, please don't let me get that, because that's that's what I'll be doing. Get some Bitcoin, change the whole game.
All of a sudden, I'm hearing "Change the Game" by Jay-Z in the background now.
Right, I'll be Jay-Z. Be like, yo, CJ, where you get them locks from, man? It's my new program, man. Anyways, all right, man, let's get to the popcorn, man. So popcorn. So
we having
popcorn
too
for
much
me,
fun
man.
with this movie, yo.
So popcorn for me, man. I'm giving it 3 boxes, man. The cast is really good. Like I had some problems with the timeline
Yeah.
thing, but overall, I wasn't like mad because I watched it. It was good. Good little story, man. Thank you for the referral.
No doubt, no doubt. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very biased when it comes to this movie. Yet, I still fluctuate on how many boxes I'm going to give it because of the flaws in the movie, which I can readily see and I acknowledge wholeheartedly. So I can't give it 5, can't give it 3 like CJ. I'm gonna rock with 4. I'm gonna rock with 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna rock with 4.
Okay. There it is. All right, man. Now for our new favorite little addition to this, man, the hot take, man. I'm gonna give you my hot take first.
Okay.
So we've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Normally, I know exactly what I want the hot take to be.
Yeah.
This movie, I actually wrote 5 of them.
Wow.
But I'm gonna read one, and this is what my hot take is. My hot take for this movie is I think it would have been better without the time travel. And just dealt with like Nick and Tommy trying to get back with Janine, and Nick thinking about Alex and Alex thinking about Tommy. I think it would have been better, like just in the same reality, just what that dynamic would have been like.
Wow. So how would you have worked out like whoever ends up with who? Like how would you have like
that would be the journey of the movie. That would be like I think it would turn into like you watching it and saying, dang, you know what? Maybe Tommy and Janine should get back together.
Yeah.
Or you might watch it and say, maybe Alex and Nick really do belong together. Or you might say, maybe it should be the way that it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think like you could kind of watch it and root for it, because the way the movie's set up now, you always want, as a viewer, I want Nick and Janine to be
right.
Because I know they were together. I know Tommy messed with it. But if you took that part out and they had to make their own choices, you never know. It might be interesting.
That's tough, man. That's tough. I like that. So here's my hot take. When you watch the movie, you're automatically introduced to multiculturalism and diversity and acceptance and tolerism. And I think that works on certain levels. I mean, don't get me wrong. Free to love who you want, be around who you want, opening and exchanging of different ideas leads to enlightenment. So I have no qualms with that whatsoever. And that's where the movie is dope. Where it fails is there is this classifying of the relationships or redesigning or reallotment. So my hot take is Ridley does a poor job of defining Zoe and Sibelia's relationship. And he does everyone a disservice. If they're going to be lesbians, let them be lesbians and let it be known. You have no qualms with showing 2 gay men being together, frolicking together, doing their thing, holding hands, and a tremendous amount of screen time that these people are allotted. However, you don't do that with Zoe and Sibylla. CJ, I love you to death, but I ain't hopping back through time to rescue you from a joint and all this other stuff, because we don't get down like that, fam. I'm sorry. I'd warn you.
We would accept the reality.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'd warn you. Yo, that's my dude. That's my brother. Like we'd hold tributes, man. Since I got
Right.
Bitcoin money, I'm getting a statue.
Right.
I'm opening up a new
Right.
film park, and I'm
Right.
saying this is the CJ joint. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we do it. You know what I mean? That's how we get down.
Right.
What I would not do is I'm running the gamut and I'm risking it all to do that. I think that John really doesn't do that. It's proper justice. Say what they
Define the
are. You know what
relationship.
I mean? Define the
That's a big.
relationship.
That's
Yeah, because maybe that would provide the clarity that a viewer like me doesn't seem to understand. Where I'm like, wait, why is she so angry all the time at this dude saying, yo, you don't know what it's like to be in a relationship? Maybe she is in a relationship and can't fully divulge to her brother, hey, look, I'm gay. And that speaks volume about
wow.
their relationship. So somewhere along the line, you're either
Wow.
doing her a disservice, the relationship a disservice of Sibelia and Zoe, or even Zoe and Nick. But somewhere along the lines, you're not helping anyone by not doing that.
Wow. Good take, man. That's a really interesting point. Yeah, because it is a question and it's never really
Yeah.
defined in it. Yeah. It's
And
a good point,
and I'm
man.
not saying you got
That's a
to do
high.
it. Yeah, I'm not saying you got to do it for me because I need to know, but I think it's just for the characters overall and the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I appreciate that.
yeah.
I dig that. I dig that, man. All right. Well, look, man, that's needle and time stack,
Yes,
man.
sir.
That's it, man. We broke it down. We got through it, man. We chopped it up and served it back to the viewers.
Mm.
Next week we are back with Get Out.
Vicious.
Movie we talked about that we talked about probably since last year wanted
Yeah.
to do. So we're gonna do that one. Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Spotify Podcasts, where you can subscribe to these movies, which we do breakdowns every week. We are also on YouTube. We got a YouTube page, Sticky Floors. Check us out, subscribe, like, share, and join us next week. Peace.